I've always been careful online. Careful with what I click, who I talk to, what I agree to meet for. But lately, it's been clawing at me the thought that you can do everything right and still open the wrong door. That maybe the danger doesn't come from being reckless, but from believing you're safe. I hadn't thought about it for a while, until last week, when a notification popped up on my phone. Your Craigslist post is expiring. I hadn't used Craigslist in years. I never even deleted the old account. But seeing that message, it brought everything back. The smell of dust from a stranger's garage, the weight of silence before a voice says your name in the dark, and suddenly I could feel it again. The same heaviness in my chest that I felt years ago, when I realized someone I met online had followed me home. The thing about Craigslist is that it feels harmless, it's local, it's ordinary, it's where people go to sell a couch, or find a car, or look for a quick deal. You never think the person on the other side of that post might be studying you, measuring the spaces in your words, figuring out how far you'd go for a bargain. At first, there's nothing strange about it. You message, you set a time, you meet in daylight if you can. But sometimes, even before you get there, something feels off. Maybe it's the way they insist on a certain spot, or the way their tone changes when you say you'll bring a friend. It's small, too small to sound paranoid, so you brush it off. Then, later, when you replay the moments in your head, those details start connecting like tiny threads. You realize the guy who sold you that chair knew your exact address, even though you never gave it, or that the phone number he texted from wasn't attached to any real person at all. And when you close your eyes, you still see something, maybe the porch light flickering across a figure standing too still at the edge of your driveway, maybe a car idling longer than it should have, maybe a soft knock at your door when you know nobody was supposed to come. People like to think these stories are rare, that they happen somewhere else, to someone gullible, someone careless. But the truth is quieter. Sometimes it's a college student trying to buy a cheap sofa. Sometimes it's a father looking for a used car. Sometimes it's two brothers hoping to save a few bucks on an iPhone. They all think they're being careful, just like I did, until something shifts. Until the screen between your world and theirs starts to thin, and you realize you've invited something in, not through a haunted mirror or a cursed object, but through an ad that said good condition, slightly used. When you meet them, they don't look dangerous. They look tired, ordinary, even friendly. They smile too long, their eyes a little too fixed. You exchange words that mean nothing, but somewhere in that exchange, a quiet calculation happens, one you won't recognize until much later, when the door clicks shut behind you, and you can't quite remember if you locked it. That's the part that still gets me. How easily the line between normal and nightmare disappears. How quickly a place that felt safe, your own house, your own street, can turn strange once you know someone's been there, watching. It's funny. I used to think ghost stories were what kept people up at night, but it's not the dead that scare me anymore. It's the living ones, the ones who learn just enough about you to find their way in. And if you've ever bought or sold something online, you've probably felt it too. That moment when you meet a stranger and tell yourself, it's fine. Maybe it was. Or maybe you just got lucky, because sometimes the message thread doesn't end when you delete it. Sometimes the deal isn't over when you leave. And sometimes when the night goes still and you hear the faint turn of a doorknob downstairs, that's when you realize the story didn't end where you thought it did. It just began there. She was 22, recently moved into her first apartment, the kind of place where every piece of furniture had a story, even if most of those stories started with Craigslist. Her name was Alana. She worked long hours at a small coffee shop and spent her nights scrolling through listings for cheap furniture, trying to make the empty space around her feel like a home. When she saw the post for a gray sofa, like new, no stains, must go today, it felt like luck. The pictures looked perfect. Soft fabric, no tears, a clean background that suggested a tidy home. The price was low, suspiciously low. But she told herself maybe the seller was just moving fast. She messaged him right away. His name, according to the profile, was Dan. From the start, there was something about his messages that didn't sit right. He responded too fast, every time. When she asked if she could pick it up during the day, he wrote, "Evening's better. I'll be home by 7. He added a smiley face. That tiny mark, harmless in most contexts, somehow made her stomach turn. But she needed the couch, and he was offering it for $50. She told herself to stop overthinking. That evening, the sky was a dull gray, and the air thick with that faint metallic smell that comes before rain. Alana drove to the address. He sent a small house on the edge of town, where the streetlights were farther apart and most driveways led into darkness. She texted him that she'd arrived. No reply. She waited a few minutes. Then another message popped up. "Side door's open. Come in." She froze, staring at those words. No one had said anything about going inside. She typed back, "I can wait outside." But the message didn't deliver. Her signal bars dropped to 0. She sat in the car for what felt like forever, the windshield wipers squeaking slow arcs across the glass. Just as she was about to drive away, the side door creaked open and a man stepped into view. He looked ordinary, maybe mid-30s, jeans, flannel shirt. He waved, smiled, and pointed toward the door. "It's in here," he called out, his voice light, friendly. Against her better judgment, she got out. Inside, the house smelled faintly of mildew and something else, a sour chemical tang she couldn't place. The living room lights were dim, one bulb flickering. The sofa was there, but it wasn't like the photos. It was old, sagging, one armrest split open, yellow stuffing showing through the seam. "That's not the one from the pictures," she said quietly. Dan shrugged. "Same model," he replied. "Photos were from when I bought it." He stepped closer, too close, and she could see the thin sheen of sweat on his forehead. "You can still take it. Or," his voice dropped lower, "we can make another arrangement." Her mind stuttered. "What do you mean?" she asked, but she already knew. He smiled again, wide, wrong, and reached out as if to brush her shoulder. She flinched back, mumbling something about forgetting her wallet in the car. His smile faltered, just enough for her to slip past him. She could feel his eyes on her as she pushed the door open and stepped into the rain. When she turned to shut it, he was still standing there, framed in the doorway, head tilted slightly, watching. She drove home fast, every few seconds checking the mirror. No headlights followed. By the time she reached her building, her hands were shaking so badly she dropped the keys twice before opening the door. Inside, she tried to laugh it off, told herself she'd just met a creep, nothing more. She made tea, locked the doors, and decided she'd forget about it by morning. But around 1 a.m., she woke to a sound, a faint metallic rattle from the front door. She held her breath. The sound came again, the soft, slow turn of a doorknob. Her heart began to thud, slow but heavy, like it was echoing through her throat. She crept out of bed, every step careful. The apartment was small, one bedroom, a short hallway, living room beyond. From the dark, she could see the outline of the door handle trembling slightly. Someone was trying it, testing it. She grabbed her phone, but the screen stayed black. Dead battery. The sound stopped. For a moment, silence. Then she heard footsteps not from the hallway outside, but from the gravel behind the building, moving toward the back entrance. She'd locked it earlier. She was sure she had. She tiptoed to the kitchen window, careful not to make the floor creak, and peered through the blinds. At first, nothing. Then movement, a shape, broad-shouldered, moving past the faint glow of the back porch light. It paused, the figure's head tilted upward, like he knew exactly where she was standing. Alana ducked down, her pulse hammered in her ears. She stayed like that for minutes, maybe longer, until she heard the faint scrape of metal of the back door handle twisting, failing, twisting again. Then, suddenly, quiet voice, muffled through the glass. "You forgot your wallet." She didn't remember dropping anything. Her skin went cold. The voice didn't sound angry. It sounded almost cheerful, conversational. "I just wanted to bring it back." She didn't answer. She didn't move. The handle rattled one last time, then stopped. An eternity passed before she dared to look again. The porch light flickered once, twice, then went out. The shape was gone. The night outside seemed to close back in, swallowing everything. She sat there until the first light of dawn, staring at the door, waiting for another sound. None came. When morning arrived, she found muddy footprints on the concrete step outside, one set only, leading away toward the street. She reported it to the police. They took notes, promised to look into it, but nothing came of it. The address she gave them didn't match any active listing. The number he texted from was disconnected, and later, when she checked her Craigslist messages, his account had been deleted. For weeks after, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The blinds stayed closed. Every creak of the hallway made her freeze. One night, walking home from work, she saw a car parked near her, building an old blue sedan with a crack across the windshield. She couldn't see the driver, just the faint glow of a cigarette ember pulsing in the dark. The next night, the car was gone. Years later, she moved to another city, another apartment. She never bought furniture online again, but sometimes, late at night, she'll wake up and feel that same tightness in her chest, that same sense that something familiar is waiting just outside the door. And once, not long ago, she found a folded piece of paper wedged between her door frame and the lock. No message, just a small printed photo, a gray sofa, like new. Must go today. Tom was the kind of man who didn't believe in bad luck. A mechanic for nearly 20 years, father of 2. Practical to the bone, he believed everything had a reason. So when he found a Craigslist ad for a used Toyota Camry 2003, clean title, one owner, just $2,800, he saw it as a rare bit of good fortune. His old car had finally given up, and money was tight. The photos in the listing showed a tidy driveway, the paint shining even under an overcast sky. The description was short: runs great, selling fast, call Bob. That was it. No last name, no backstory. Still, Tom felt good about it. He called the number. The voice that answered was calm, polite, maybe a little distracted. "Sure, you can come by this evening," the man said. "I'll text you the address. Just don't be late, I have another buyer at 8. Tom left right after dinner. His wife told him to be careful the way wives do when they sense something's off but can't explain it. "It's Craigslist," she said. "You don't even know the guy." He laughed it off. "Honey, it's a car, not a date." The drive took him about 40 minutes, out toward the edge of town where the houses thinned and the road turned to gravel. By the time he saw the mailbox number that matched the address, the sun was low, that dim orange bleeding into the tree line. The house itself sat far back from the road, half hidden by tall weeds and rusting farm equipment. The porch light was on, faint and yellow like it hadn't been changed in years. He pulled up, honked once, waited. No one came out. He texted, "Hey, it's Tom. I'm here." A few seconds later, his phone buzzed. "Garage door's open. Come around back." The message didn't have punctuation. Tom hesitated, looked at the house again. He figured maybe the guy was busy getting the paperwork. He parked, stepped out, and walked along the gravel path that led around to the back. The garage door was indeed open, just a few feet, enough for him to duck under. Inside was dim light from a single hanging bulb. The smell hit first. Oil, metal, something sharp and chemical beneath it. "Hello?" he called. No answer. The place was cluttered car parts stacked against the walls, half a disassembled engine on a workbench. But no Camry. He took a few cautious steps forward, scanning the room. The bulb swung slightly overhead, shadows bending across the walls. That's when he noticed it, the shapes. At first, he thought they were mannequins. There were several of them, positioned along the far side of the room, some seated, some standing. Their skin tone was wrong, too gray, too uneven. He blinked, trying to make sense of it. One of them wore a baseball cap, another had on a floral blouse, and then his stomach turned because that skin wasn't plastic. It was leathered, stretched, fragile looking, with small stitching marks near the edges. He stumbled back, hitting the side of a metal shelf. The clang echoed through the garage. A voice, calm and close, spoke behind him. "You weren't supposed to see that yet." Tom spun around. A man stood by the doorway, about his height, wearing overalls and thick glasses. His expression was almost gentle. "Bob?" Tom managed to say. The man smiled faintly. "That's what they call me." For a second, neither moved. Then the man took a slow step forward. "It's an art project," he said, gesturing toward the figures. "Preservation. People throw everything away these days. They don't understand the value of form." His tone was conversational, but something about the way he spoke made Tom's throat tighten. "Where's the car?" Tom asked. The man's smile didn't change. "Outside. You'll see it when we're done here." Tom's pulse quickened. He reached into his pocket, pretending to check his phone. "Mind if I call my wife? Just to let her know I got here." The man's eyes flicked toward him, cold, assessing. "No signal out here," he said softly. "But don't worry, it won't take long." That was when Tom saw it through a narrow doorway leading deeper into the house. The outline of something slumped against the wall, a shape too human to ignore. He squinted, and the dim light caught on a handpail, motionless, the nails black with dirt. He felt the air leave his lungs. "I think I'll come back another time," he said quickly, backing toward the open side of the garage. The man's voice sharpened, the comm edge cracking. "You can't just leave, Tom." He knew his name. Tom's legs moved before his mind caught up. He ducked under the door and bolted for the car. Behind him came a shout, not angry, more disappointed. Something metallic clattered on the concrete. He didn't look back. He jumped in, slammed the door, and twisted the key. The engine coughed, then roared to life. He threw it into reverse, gravel spraying under the tires. In the mirror, he saw the man step out into the light, watching him go. His head tilted slightly, like he was memorizing the sight. Tom drove until he saw the highway lights, until the shaking in his hands made him pull over. He called 911. The dispatcher listened, took the details, promised to send someone. They found the house hours later, or rather, what was left of it. The garage was empty. The mannequins, gone. The place looked abandoned for years. No tire tracks, no footprints, no sign anyone had lived there. Even the mailbox number didn't match. For weeks after, Tom replayed it all. The voice, the smell, those faces frozen in that dim yellow light. He tried to convince himself he'd imagined it, that maybe he'd stumbled into an old storage shed. But deep down, he knew. The next morning, when he opened his email, there was a message from an unknown address. "Cars still available. Come alone this time." He deleted it immediately, but for months afterward, he'd see similar ads pop up. Same phrasing, same price, same model of car, always the same name, Bob. One night, he came home to find a business card tucked under his windshield wiper. Plain white, no logo, no number, just one sentence printed in clean black letters. "You still owe me a visit." His heart sank. He didn't tell his wife. He didn't report it again. He just stopped answering unknown numbers, sold his phone, changed his email, and refused to ever buy or sell anything online again. Still, sometimes, driving down long back roads at night, he'd catch sight of headlights behind him, distant at first, then closer, then gone when he turned to check. Maybe it was nothing, maybe paranoia, but he never forgot that feeling. The one that started in that garage, that the danger wasn't waiting for him. It was patient, already there, studying him, deciding whether to try again. And every time he passes an old Camry for sale with a handwritten sign in the window, he looks the other way, afraid that if he stares too long, someone might recognize him. For Alex and his younger brother Mark, the night started out simple. They were broke college students, hunting for deals like everyone else. Mark had found an ad on Craigslist, an iPhone 5, barely used, $80. Too cheap to be real, Alex thought, but his brother was convinced. "The guy's probably just upgrading," Mark said. "He says he can meet tonight, cash only." The seller's name was Jay. The listing was brief, typed in all lowercase with a single blurry photo of the phone on a kitchen counter. They agreed to meet in a supermarket parking lot about 10 minutes from campus. It was already dark when they got there. The lot mostly empty except for a few cars parked near the entrance. Alex didn't like it. He told Mark they should go inside the store, make the exchange where it was bright and crowded. But Mark laughed. "Relax, man, it's a phone, not a drug deal." At 9:47 p.m., a black Honda Civic pulled into the lot, headlights dimmed. It rolled slowly toward them and stopped a few spaces away. The driver's window came down halfway. "You the guys for the phone?" the voice asked. It was young, maybe early 20s, with a slight rasp. "Yeah," Mark said, stepping forward. Alex stayed by the car, watching. The guy leaned out, hoodie, cap low over his face, a thin smile that didn't reach his eyes. He handed Mark a small box. "There you go, man. 80 even." Mark flipped the box open, and sure enough, an iPhone sat inside, clean and unscratched. "Looks good," he said, handing over the cash. The guy counted it quickly, then nodded. "Pleasure doing business." They started walking back to their car. "See? Easy," Mark said, grinning. But as Alex turned the key in the ignition, he noticed something. The Civic was still there. The driver hadn't left. He sat in the car, lights off, phone glowing faintly in his hand. Alex frowned. "He's just checking the money," Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. They pulled out onto the main road. In the rearview mirror, Alex saw headlights flicker on and follow. "Tell me that's not him," he muttered. Mark turned around, probably going the same way. They drove for 5 minutes, then 10. Every turn they made, the Civic followed. Closer now. Alex's hands tightened on the wheel. "Okay, this isn't funny anymore." Mark's voice dropped. "He's tailing us." Alex made a sudden right turn onto a side street, hoping to shake him. The Civic turned too. He sped up, weaving through the empty neighborhood streets, until he reached a 4-way intersection and slammed the brakes. The Civic stopped half a block behind them, engine idling. Then, its headlights flashed twice. Alex's stomach dropped. He floored the gas and shot through the intersection. Taking the long route home, they reached their house just before 10:30. The Civic was nowhere in sight. Mark exhaled, laughing nervously. "See? He's gone. Probably just wanted to mess with us." Alex didn't laugh. He parked in the driveway and killed the lights. The night was quiet except for crickets and the faint hum of a street lamp. They went inside, locking the door behind them. Mark opened the phone box again, excited to test it out. That's when he realized the phone wouldn't turn on. No charge, maybe. He plugged it in. Still nothing. Alex examined it under the light. The backplate was slightly loose, like it had been pried open. He frowned. "This thing's fake," Mark groaned. "Seriously?" But before they could argue further, there was a sound, a soft thud from outside. Then another. Something hitting the side of the house. They froze. Alex peeked through the blinds. Nothing but the dark street. "Probably a branch," he whispered. But then came the crunch of footsteps on gravel. Mark's voice trembled. "Call the cops!" Alex reached for his phone, but before he could dial, the porch light flickered on and there it was. The black Civic, parked halfway down the driveway, engine running. The driver's door was open. Alex's blood went cold. He grabbed his brother, pulled him toward the back door, but the knock came first. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the front door, followed by a voice. "Hey man, you forgot something." They didn't answer. The voice grew harder, lower. "Open the door or I'll come in myself." Alex could see the shadow through the frosted glass, tall, lean, head tilted slightly. He mouthed to Mark. "Back window." They moved quietly, stepping around the creaky floorboards. But before they reached the kitchen, the doorknob rattled violently. Then the sound of something metal scraping against the lock. "He's trying to pick it," Mark hissed. Alex grabbed a kitchen knife, heart hammering. "Go upstairs. Call 911. Mark sprinted up the stairs. The scraping stopped. Silence. Then, a loud bang, a gunshot. The door frame splintered. A second shot followed, cracking the glass. Alex ducked behind the counter, trembling. From upstairs came Mark's voice, shouting that police were on the way. The man outside yelled back, furious now. "You think they'll get here in time?" The Civic's engine revved suddenly, tires screeching against the pavement. The sound faded into the distance. For a long moment, the house was quiet again. Alex didn't move. His ears rang from the shots. Finally, flashing red and blue lights filled the street. The police swept the area, found shell casings near the porch, tire marks in the gravel, but no sign of the car or the man. Over the next few days, detectives interviewed them, took the fake iPhone as evidence. They said the phone had been modified, gutted out, a GPS tracker hidden inside. Whoever sold it had used similar devices in robberies across neighboring towns. The Civic, they said, was stolen. Alex couldn't sleep for weeks. Every noise made him jump. Mark dropped out for the semester, said he couldn't shake the image of that face behind the frosted glass. Months later, when things finally felt normal again, Alex was leaving for work early one morning. The street was empty, sun barely up. He walked to his car, coffee in hand, and saw something lying on the hood, a phone. The same model, same scratches. He looked around, no one in sight. The air was still. He picked it up, hesitated, then flipped it over. On the screen, in big white letters, a single message glowed. "You still have my number." The screen went black. He dropped it instantly, heart racing, eyes darting down the street. That's when he noticed the faint outline of tire tracks, still damp from dew, leading away toward the main road. He never told his brother. He just moved a few months later, changed his number, deleted every old message. But sometimes, when his phone buzzes at night, he hesitates before picking it up, afraid that maybe, this time, it won't be a wrong number. Maybe it'll be that same rasping voice, calm and friendly, saying what it said that night in the dark. "Hey man, you forgot something." It's strange how easily we let strangers into our lives. We do it every day without thinking, a small transaction, a moment of trust that feels harmless. We hand them our names, our addresses, our time. We shake hands, exchange smiles, and tell ourselves we're in control. That's the lie that makes everything possible, the belief that we can see danger coming. But danger doesn't always wear a mask or carry a weapon. Sometimes it smiles, sometimes it's polite. Sometimes it thanks you for your time and waits until you've gone home to make its next move. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Let Go. Different names for the same thing. A digital street corner where desperation meets opportunity. Most of the time it's fine. You get your deal, they get their cash. But every once in a while, two paths cross in just the wrong way. One person is looking for something simple. A couch, a car, a phone. The other is looking for something else entirely. That's when ordinary life tilts. When something as small as a message thread can open a door you didn't mean to open. People think evil announces itself, that there's a signal, a look, a tone that tells you when something's off, but it doesn't. It hides behind routine. It borrows the voice of a neighbor, the face of someone you might have passed in the grocery store. And when you finally realize what it is, it's already too close. Maybe it followed you home. Maybe it's sitting in a parked car at the end of your street. Maybe it knows exactly when your lights go out. The people in these stories didn't go looking for horror. They just answered an ad. They were careful, cautious, smart. But horror doesn't care about that. It waits for an opportunity the moment you lower your guard, the second you assume you're safe because nothing bad has happened yet. That's the moment it slips through. And what haunts you afterward isn't just the memory of what happened, it's knowing how easily it could happen again. Because somewhere out there, the listings never stop. New ads go up every minute. Slightly used sofa. Great condition Camry. iPhone, cash only. Different words, same pattern. Somewhere, another hand is typing. Another photo is being uploaded. Another meeting is being arranged. And someone maybe right now is reading that post, thinking they just found a great deal, thinking nothing bad ever happens around here. If you've ever met a stranger through a glowing screen, You know that feeling, the flicker of uncertainty before trust takes over. The small voice that says, maybe I should wait until daylight. Most of us ignore it. We laugh it off, tell ourselves not to be paranoid. But the ones who listen, they're the lucky ones. Because once the door closes, once the messages stop delivering, once you hear that soft, there's a fine line between coincidence and warning, between the comfort of routine and the chill of realization. The next time you scroll past an ad that feels too perfect, too cheap, too easy, ask yourself who's really on the other side. Maybe it's just someone trying to sell a piece of old furniture, or maybe it's someone who isn't selling anything at all. And if you ever